Hello, I'm Greg. Welcome to my channel, Midnight Oil Software, where I talk about game development using Unity and also digital art. Today I'm going to continue working on my mini game that I'm writing. I'm doing a remake of the classic Moon Patrol game, and I'm adding it as a mini game to my Ninja Eggs game, which is a 2D Angry Birds clone using hand-drawn art inspired by Mark Kistler, who you may remember from his shows The Imagination Station and The Secret City on PBS. So in the previous stream, I added sound effects and visual effects to the bombs when they hit the ground. And I also made it so they would create craters when they hit the ground. So we'll just kind of revisit that behavior here. As always, it takes a little while the first time I hit play when coming back into a session. Oops, got killed already. And I did not see any enemies spawn. So I guess I just had not met the delay yet. There we go. So there, it dropped the bomb, it created a crater, and then I fell in it and died. And I know that I'm going to have to do some tweaking in the future so that it doesn't put craters back to back next to each other, which would be impossible for the player to jump over. So the agenda for today is I want to add scoring when you destroy hazards or enemies, and I want to add milestones. So I'll have to create a milestone prefab and then a spawner to spawn the milestones. And then we'll want to notify the level controller whenever we complete milestones. And if we have time, we can maybe look at adding some more hazards to the game. So going back into Unity, in my Egg Patrol Manager, we already have a reference to a scoreboard and a minigame score. So the scoreboard is a scriptable object, and this is common across every scene in the game. Basically, this is what I use to keep track of the score, and that's what gets displayed on this bottom line here. So this is a UI element for the scoreboard. And it basically just subscribes to this scoreboard scriptable object, and when it changes, it updates the UI elements down here. The minigame scoreboard is what's displayed at the top of my minigames. So Flappy Egg, Ninjaroids, and now Moon Patrol will have their own separate score that's separate from the overall score of the game. So if you're playing regular Ninja Eggs, you score points, and then if you go and play one of the mini games, you score points specific to that mini game, which also get added to your points here. So how do we want to handle scoring for hazards? Well, the first thing I want to do is I want to create a script, and I'm going to put it in my mini games folder here, and I'm going to call it scoreable. And I spelled it wrong. Open that up in Visual Studio. And it did not open the script. So my guess is when I renamed it here, oh, I clicked on the wrong thing. There it goes. It scrolled out from under me. Oops. All right, so I have renamed this to Scoreable. And I want to move this to the proper namespace. Mini games. All right, so in this class, I want to have a list of layers So all of my collidables, things like the hazards and the enemies, they're all on a layer. And I don't want to score points if I collide with something that's not something that should earn points. So I only want to score points in this case if I collide with the player or player bullet. So I'm going to have a list of strings, and this will be scored by layer names. And then I'm going to have a list of integers scored by layers. And in the awake method, I want to loop through my layer names. And I want to add the layer to my collection of scored by layers. Okay, so then I want to handle my collisions. So whatever game object I attach this to will already have a collider. So I want on collision enter 2D, and if should score points, collision dot game object dot layer then I will call score points. And I'll just move this down below the other method. All right, so I'm also going to want to have, I want these to be serialized fields. I want to have an int points to score, and we'll just default it to something like 100. And I want to have an optional prefab I think, would that just be a game object? No, I'm going to probably want, is it scrolling text? What is the name of that? Let me go back and see what I do. Like in Flappy Egg. Fading text. I think I want to add a fading text. Looks like it's just, let me go back and look at that again. So milestone text prefab is a fading text 3. What type is that? Is that just a game object? Oh, it must be in the base class. So I don't need to add any, well, let's see. Go to definition. Yeah, that's just a game object. So I want to do the same thing in scoreable. I want to have a game object. And I want to call it score text prefab. By default, that'll be null. So if should score points, what do I want to do in here? I basically want to see if my scored by layers contains layer. And I actually can just return that condition because this is just a bool. So I'll return true if the scored by layers contains the layer of the thing that we collided with. And then score points. So can I just scoreboard.so. How do I do that in my other class? It's been so long since I've worked on this piece of the game, I forget how I did certain things. So let's go look at that scene. And actually, I'll look at Ninjaroids. So I have scoreboard here. Add points. So, so the game manager should have points scored. And I wonder, are all these methods available on the base class of my game manager? Which means I should just be able to call that. So let me go back into my Egg Patrol scene. Look at this guy. Go look at the base class. So I'm going to have to add methods to add points. Yes. Okay, so in my Egg Patrol manager, public add points, void points scored points. And what did I do in Ninjaroids manager? Update score. So I will do this. Let me go ahead and do both of these. All right. Come back to scoreable. I'm going to have a reference. Minigame level controller. Actually, can I use the interface? Duh. I'm going to make this a serialized field. add points to score. And then if score text prefab is not equal to null, because I want this to be an optional thing. Well, that should do it. So if I go back into Unity and I go into my prefabs, and I select boulder, hill, pterodactyl, and turret. Go and close all them down. And I'm going to add scoreable. And I want to add my level controller. Okay, why isn't it liking that? Okay. And for now, I'm going to leave that null. But why is this not working? Egg Patrol Manager. Egg Patrol Manager. Okay, maybe I can't make that a serialized field. Okay, let's see what that does. Have some warnings I can clean up, it looks like. I did not see any point score. And I have some errors. Yep, that is to be expected. Was there any other errors? Should be related to the same problem. All right. I might have to turn off the dropping of the bombs or really increase the delay for those bombs. I got 100 points. So it looked like killing the hazard gave me points, and it gave me 100, so that's correct. So I'm racking up points. I got 1,100 points. And that is my high score for this game. Let's see if I play it again, if it remembers that. Yep. So it remembers my high score from that game. So the scoring is working. Now, if we want to display some fading text at the point where I kill the thing, I don't think I want to in this case, but I want this component to have that ability. Let me save this as var game object equals get component fading text 3. Of course, I'm making an assumption here, aren't I? If that's the case, well, init. There should be an init method. Interesting. A lot of parameters on that init method. I don't know. We'll see how that looks. What doesn't it like about this? Ah, it wants vector 3s. No, it wants floats. So let's see. It's complaining about scroll Y. So what have I got here? I've got text 1, text 2, text 3. I've got the level controller. I got the fade duration. I've got the position. Oh, the scale. I really don't know. Let's try 1. Is that a... That's a vector 3. What? Did I put it in the wrong place? The scale should come after the position and before the scroll. Okay. Oh, did I already set that on the prefab? I did. It's not working though. All right. So if the scored text prefab, oh, I never enabled it. It's too big. And it's not really in the right place. But it works. Let me just change the scale. That works. All right, so I'm happy with that, but I'm going to go ahead and null these out because I don't really want that effect on these particular items. And I want to make the enemies worth more points than the terrain. Than the hazards, rather. So boulder, hill, and turret, I'm going to make them worth 50 points. And I'm going to make the pterodactyl worth 100 points. So that's fine. Okay. So, got scoring working. So I want to create milestones. So in the regular Moon Patrol game, as you reach certain distances in the game, they were predefined levels, I'm pretty sure, but they had milestones like level like A, B, C, D, or E. And then they would say like time to reach E. They'd put that up as part of your score. I'm not going to do that, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a milestone prefab and I'm going to place it on the terrain at certain intervals. So I'm going to start out with an initial interval, and then as you get more and more milestones, the interval will increase. So you have to go farther and farther to complete the next milestone. So I have a flag image that I display up here for my milestones. So that's like my max, that's my high score milestones, best milestones. Since I use this image to donate, is that the word? To designate milestones, I'm going to use that as my milestone marker in the game. So if I drag that into the scene, it is huge. I'm going to call this milestone marker. Actually, I'm just going to call it milestone. No, milestone marker's fine. And I'm going to really crank down its scale. That's about the size I'm looking for. And I'm going to want to add a Text Mesh Pro text. Not Text Mesh Pro text UI, but Text Mesh Pro text. I think I need to, actually, I think what I need to do, let me delete this. I'm going to create an empty game object. milestone marker. And then to that, I'm going to add a sprite renderer. Is that right? No, I'm going to drag this guy on there as a child. I'll zero out his position. And now I should be able to add a Text Mesh Pro text. And that's way too big. First of all, I'll go down to a font size of 8. And then I'm going to scale this guy down. Actually, I wonder if I want to make him another separate child. I think I do. So I can scale it independently. Still a little bit too big. Also, is this the font I want to use? I think I like, well, they all look pretty much the same. So this is still a little bit too big. I kind of like that. It doesn't seem to be perfectly centered. So what if I changed it to like level 22? It's still too big, isn't it? That's a lot better. And is it centered? I think that looks fairly centered. Okay, I think I like that. So we're going to call this flag. And then milestone text. Now we need to add a box collider on this guy. And let me go ahead and spawn some terrain. I'm going to grab this guy. And I think I want him to be, let's see if there's any, turn off hazards for a second. Basically, I want to make sure that the milestone marker appears under any craters. I don't want them to be in the middle of a crater. So I'm going to turn off that. And I'm going to go to my enemy spawner and turn that off. So I don't have to worry about dying. Okay. So if I grab my milestone marker, if I child him, if I parent him to a crater and reset his position, then I want to set his local position I think -1. Well, a little bit higher. -0.7 should work. All right, I like that. And give him some text. Go to game view. Yes, I think that looks pretty good. So -0.7 is what I'm going to want for that. And then I'm going to want to add a box collider, 2D. And let me actually drag in some of that terrain. Is that where the terrain lives? Let me get rid of that. I just want to make sure I'm positioning things in such a way that the buggy will collide with it no matter what. Let me move it to a different piece of terrain. Oh, I need to reset it. All right, that'll work. I just want to see what it looks like in the game view. So I'm not seeing the milestone text. Oops. Why am I not seeing that text? It's got to be because it's behind the terrain. So the flag is showing up and the text is not. I'm also, let's see. Of course, any changes I make are not going to be persistent. Let me work on the box collider first. So, box collider 2D. And even if the buggy's jumping, I'm going to want him to collide with that. All right. And actually, I want to put this, I need to stop playing so I can do, oh, I lost my coordinates. All right, let me play with this real quick. I might have to tweak this, but I'm going to go ahead and set those bounds there. And I'm going to want this to be on a new layer. Milestone. Yeah. Because terrain is already colliding with a waypoint out here. So I don't want to use waypoint. I think I want to use milestone. And I want to go into my physics 2D. And I want milestone to only collide with player. There we go. I'm going to want to add a script to this guy. Going to want to drag that script onto my game object. Open that up in Visual Studio. Set my namespace. All right. So this guy is going to need a serialized field to the TMP Pro. No, actually, let me just. I think it's TMP text. Yes, TMP text. Milestone text. Go back over into Unity. We lock this. Where'd my script go? I thought I had dragged that script on there. Milestone marker. Lock that. Go into milestone text. Okay, that should work. All right, so now in the script, on enable, actually, I'm going to want to add a public method, init. You're so smart, Visual Studio. Okay, init. String text, and I'll be descriptive. Milestone text. So milestone text equals milestone text. All right. Just got to remember to assign this. All right. And I'm also probably going to want to have well, we need to handle on collision enter 2D for sure. On collision enter 2D. And we're going to want a reference to our minigame controller. So all I'm going to do is increment milestones passed and throw up the milestone some text indicating that we completed the milestone. So we're going to want that. Game object milestone complete prefab. And I'm actually going to go ahead and make that a fading text 3. Isn't that what it was called? Okay. All right, so in on collision enter 2D, let me first get reference to my minigame level controller. And when I do my refactoring, I think I'm going to use something called singleton instantiation pattern, so I won't have to do what I'm doing now. increment that. If milestone complete prefab is not equal to null, then I'm basically going to do the same thing I did in my scorable. And I'm going to just copy this. And I'm going to come back and clean that up too. If should spawn milestone complete text. Does he not publicly expose the milestones completed? For now, let me just stick that in there. But let me see. So I have points scored. So I do this in my Flappy Egg game. Let me go see what I'm doing there. Prefabs, Flappy Egg level controller. You know what? This might be handled already by the base class. Yep. I don't need to do any of this stuff that I'm doing in here. So get rid of this. Yeah, this is the problem when you don't touch something for a while and then you forget how you did it. So this is actually very, very simple. All I'm doing is caching my level controller, which I can still use the interface. And I have an init method where I can set the text that I want to display on the flag. And then in my onCollisionEnter2D, I'm just telling the level controller, increment our milestone progress. And if I was to hard code, let me go ahead and delete. You know what? I need to create a prefab from that while I'm in here. cool. So let me just hit run and pause. And I want to parent this to some terrain. Very interesting. So I definitely need to edit the sprite position of the flag. Let me go ahead and do that. And I want to make this whole thing be on the milestone layer. Okay, parent him to this terrain. Zero his position out. Move him down negative 0.7. Hit play. And when I hit that, we should see my milestone increment. Oh, I stopped playing. I meant to stop pausing. Okay, do this again. Ooh. I need to make that kinematic and use, well, it should just be a trigger and not a, let me just make it a trigger because it actually collided with the buggy. Yep, let me go into this guy's collider, make him is trigger, go into the script, say on, why am I not getting autocomplete here? On trigger enter 2D. I should be getting some autocomplete for that. And is there not a 2D version of that? Well, let's see if I even get in here. I never hit my break point. It definitely has that box collider on them. Script error on trigger enter 2D. Oh. Well, that makes perfect sense. There we go. All right. I think that this will work now. Okay. Oh, I did it again. Okay, unpause instead of stopping playing. This is very interesting because my minigame scoreboard went away. And I'm not seeing any errors in the console. That's really interesting. Better put a breakpoint in there. All right. So I've got my level controller. So current milestones passed is 0. Well, that's interesting. Oh, that's interesting. I need to override that method and do some of this stuff. Because all I was doing in the base class is returning the milestones passed. It's not doing anything. I'm expected to override this and do some stuff in here in my Egg Patrol Manager. All right. So, Egg Patrol Manager, I'm going to want fading. Okay. Prefabs effects, I think. Fading text 3. I want milestone. All right. Actually, let me... So some of this is not going to be applicable because we don't have pipes that we're driving past like we do in Flappy Egg. But I think this is all good. All right. So I'm actually... I don't think I want to... I think I just want to create this guy at vector 3.0. Well... All right. Let's see if that does anything. And I'm definitely going to want to look into what's gone wrong with my minigame score. Because it's certainly not displaying correctly anymore. I'm not sure what I did to it. Milestone marker. Zero that out. Negative 0.7. Oh. I thought I had parented it to there. All right. So for some reason I got multiple... Oh, I know why. The buggy wheels collided. So I collided with the buggy and then the wheels. I got 4 different collisions. So I'm going to need to handle that. Okay, where am I missing a paren or brace? All right. Now I should only get one notification. Okay, let's child him to that guy, reset his position, -0.7, let it fly. Huh, I did not reset the delay. Just something long enough for the buggy to get all the way past it. That's what I wanted. All right, I think it's time to wrap up this stream. Obviously, I have a few things to debug for the next stream. So I'm going to put debug milestone text not displaying in front of flag. Make that milestone marker. And then fix minigame scoreboard UI. And the other thing we're going to have to do is create the milestone spawner. So we've got this done. So next stream, we'll do this debugging, fix that UI, create a spawner, and if we have time, add more hazards. But I just realized you all couldn't see a thing that I was typing. Yeah, so we got this working today. We created a prefab for the milestone. We got the scoring working. We notify the level controller when milestones are completed. So now we need to debug the milestone marker text not displaying in front of the flag. We need to fix the display of the scoreboard UI. I don't know where that went, what happened to it. And then I want to implement a spawner to spawn the milestones. But if you haven't already, please click that like and subscribe button. Or that notification bell if you want to be notified the next time that I go live or post a video. And thanks again for watching, and I hope this is helpful and that it helped you if you're doing any Unity game development. And if you have any questions or suggestions, please drop a comment. And again, thank you for watching and have a great day.